Hi everyone, Les Picker here. Today we're going to do something a bit different, but something that I'll be doing perhaps once a month, once every 6 weeks. And that is I'm going to look at some books that I've already reviewed and making recommendations to you about what I see as the strengths and weaknesses of each of these books. And today I am just so thrilled to be presenting these 3 books to you, because they've really influenced me as a photographer, and I know many of my clients and colleagues in the same way. They've really gotten a lot out of these books. So the first one I want to talk to you about, because it's pretty new on the market, and that is a book by Bonnie McCurry. That is Steve McCurry, the National Geographic photographer for decades and decades. I have followed him for decades. One of the top photographers in the world, without any doubt. So his sister Bonnie did this book here on just simply titled Steve McCurry, and this is one heck of a book. Let me tell you, it is. You can see from here, it's rather thick, and to give you an idea of just how enormous these books are, I have a scale here. I just thought for fun I'd show you this monstrous book, which I think clocks in at around 6 or 7 pounds. So it's a pretty gigantic book, full of the backstory about Steve himself, but also from childhood, mind you, on, and some of the trials and tribulations he went through as a child, but also gets into the full body of his work. Including, of course, let me see if I have this earmarked here. Perhaps his most famous work, but by far not his best, The Afghan Girl, which I'm sure you have all seen before, including the more recent picture of the woman as she became an adult. So we have that, but it also has tons of material on covering really the whole body of Steve's amazing travel photography, his cultural photography, and even Bonnie goes into great detail about even some of the dangers he faced in Afghanistan and in other places in the world as he captured these iconic images and these photojournalistic images that helped us to understand our world better. In addition, there are some funny things here, like, we all talk about equipment, what kind of equipment you need to get the shot. I thought this was rather funny, seeing this one here. I guess we all need to carry an assistant with us wherever we go so that we can get the shot, so to speak. Also in it, Steve, who doesn't like to give very much advice as a photographer to others, except to practice and to be focused, etc., does have, Bonnie intersperses within the book some suggestions, some tips and ideas from Steve himself. So I would suggest that this is a wonderful book to add to your collection. I can tell you, I believe very strongly that we can learn as much as going out and photographing from studying these masters and really figuring out, how did they take the shot? Why did they take the shot from that particular angle? Of course, a lot of Steve's work is fortuitous. He just happens to be in this scene, more street photography than any pose kinds of portraits. But you can really learn by looking at these books and getting something from it. All these 3 books I'm going to share with you today are available on Amazon. I have links right below in the description. When you're done watching this, you can take a look at it. And so there's one, and that's Steve McCurry's book. The second book I want to share with you, really, because this is a treasure, a jewel of my collection, and that is the book Genesis by Sebastian Salgado. And Salgado's been photographing for more than 50 years. He's a mainstream in the photographic world. I can't think of any landscape photographer that hasn't been shaped by Salgado's work. I have to tell you, I've spent probably a good 6 hours on this book to date. And what I do is in the evenings, I'll come down and just really work this book, trying to figure out what was in Salgado's mind when he took this. Why did he choose this particular perspective? How did he think this thing through and achieve the results that he has? So this book is I must say, is another monster, if you will. This one clocks in at a hefty 8 pounds and 12 ounces, or about that. That's actually my birth weight, by the way, so there you go. Maybe that's why I'm so attracted to this book. I don't know. Anyway, so Salgado's work, this book is beautifully produced. It has full pull-out pages throughout so that you can get a real sense of the scope of Salgado's work. And even more so, what I love about the book is that in the back, inside the back cover, is this accompanying book, if you will, which shows you the actual, where he took each book and some background information about it. It's very, very detailed and a real accompaniment to this book. So I would suggest that, Salgado is known for his landscapes. He's also, as he's traveled around the world, gotten some incredible shots of wildlife shots, as you can see here. And so this is a book that I feel is a complete treasure, as certainly it occupies a special place in my collection. And to be candid about it, while I have spent, as I said, probably 6 hours on it, I'm only, where you see this bookmark, I'm only about here in the book. I still have more to go, and I've had this book for about a year. So if you can, grab a hold of this Genesis by Salgado. Now, these books are not cheap, but they are really an investment in your photographic future. The final book that I'd like to present to you today as really an investment in your photography is this incredible, marvelous, beautiful book by Brandt, who's a wildlife photographer that I have admired for years, along with David Yarrow, by the way. But in this case, Brandt's book, On This Earth, A Shadow Falls. And this is really, it's a part of a series of Nick's books. Nick differs from other wildlife photographers. Actually, Nick and David Yarrow both differ from 99% of wildlife photographers in that they really stress wide-angle images. They are close to these animals when they photograph, or they use a remote setup and get the animals as they pass through various trails. And really, they achieve such amazing results because it really magnifies the power of the animals. So let me give you a couple of examples here that I've bookmarked, but by no means is this, are these the only examples. This book, every page is an absolute wonder to behold. Here's one image by, of 2 giraffes, which you will shortly see. And by the way, even the paper on this is stunningly beautiful. So you're dealing with almost like a portfolio presentation. Here's one that I particularly like, where I believe that Brandt placed a remote camera along a trail that elephants were known to travel on. And by the way, both he and David Yarrow have images of themselves, of their cameras being kicked by elephants or carried away by lions. So if you take a look at this one, wide angle again, just beautifully done. And I think this shows to me the forethought that goes into this kind of photography. and again, presents the animals in their full magnificence. One of the things that I always caution my clients when we're in Africa is not to shoot down on animals. It minimizes them, it takes away their power. If you're confined to a rover, you can't get out, wait until the animal is a little bit further away, your angle of attack, if you will, your angle of incidence is shallower, and using a telephoto lens, you can get a pretty good shot. Of course, if you can get out of the vehicle, that's always, you know, a better situation. And in his case, in Nick Brandt's case and David Yarrow's case, they sometimes lie on the ground photographing their animals. Of course, that's when they're being guided one-on-one, they're not in a group. But either way, I think there's so much to learn from this particular book by Nick Brandt. Again, it is not an inexpensive book, but it is one that is well worth having in your collection. Every page has just spectacular photos, and Nick is very good about sharing how he actually takes these images. So with that, I'll be signing off, but I encourage you to order some of these books, put them in your collection, study them, really learn from them, and then apply them to your actual photography. So all the books are down below. There's a direct link, just click on it, it'll take you right to the Amazon site. All the books sell for a little bit below what their publication price is, so this is a good time to grab them. But truly, you know, think about adding this, whether you're a street photographer, travel photographer like McCurry, I keep on messing that up, whether you're a street photographer like McCurry, or a wildlife photographer like Nick Brandt, or perhaps a landscape photographer like Salgado. I think there's a lot to learn, and in some cases, ways to apply that learning to different modalities, whether if applying some of these wildlife images taken with a wide-angle lens to your landscape photography is really a strong possibility. So that's it. Again, we'll be doing some more reviews in the future of what I consider to be exceptional books. And good luck and happy reading.